Welcome to the Busy Signal. My name is Jim, and this is my retro-nostalgic 80s, 90s, and early 2000s podcast. This show aims to salute all the stuff from back in the day that is either now extinct or quickly going that way. This show, as you know, is based on pure nostalgia. All the stuff we remember from back in the day, but what happens when what you remember is wrong? Or worse, never happened at all. Collective false memory. You know what I'm talking about. It's that phenomenon that they call the Mandela Effect. With me today, I have a very good friend of mine. I've known her since 1992. I was 11, and her name is June. June, welcome to the Busy Signal.
Hi, thanks for having me, Jim. Very exciting.
Yeah, I have you on because I know for a fact you are familiar with the Mandela Effect, correct?
I am, yes.
So obviously we have to get into the Mandela Effect is named after Nelson Mandela.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was the president of South Africa in the early 90s. However, there's a large population of people apparently, and I'm not one of them, that remembers him dying in prison in the 80s.
Yeah.
That doesn't affect me. So it's crazy to me that a lot of people, they remember like him like on like the news and reading articles about it.
Yeah, I remember it. Yes, I remember him being on the news as passing away, and it was very sad, and everyone was very, it was a big deal. I remember being in my living room, which is very strange that I remember that specifically, but I remember standing there and the angle I was looking at the TV, and I didn't know who he was, so my dad had to explain who he was to me. Like, I remember that whole thing. So then I was very surprised. I actually I've been to South Africa, and I went in 2009. And obviously before I went, I knew that he was still alive, but Invictus was coming out. It came out in December, and it was a really big buildup to that movie. So when I went in August, I had already knew that movie was coming out. So it was pretty cool. Being there was neat. I learned a lot about him, and, I was in Cape Town for a while, and he made some big speeches in Cape Town. He was actually released from the prison very close to Cape Town. I actually went to that prison, and I got to see the statue with his fist pump in the air. And what I didn't realize was that statue was only made a year before I got there. So it was August 2008 is when they put that up, and then I got to go in August of 2009 and see it. So it was pretty cool.
So you saw Nelson Mandela?
No, I didn't see him. I saw his statue.
Okay.
Yeah, but I saw Mandela Street and Mandela Road, and they have Nelson Mandela Day every year. And I mean, he is a huge person in South African history, obviously, but also he was still the president at the time when I was there. So that was really cool.
Gotcha. So I don't like to do research for this podcast, and that's going to become like a drinking game because I say that every
yeah.
And I end up doing research. If I say I don't like to do research, I've done research. And I don't want to get too much into making this a history lesson because that is not what this is. But he was an activist against the apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
He was a lot of things, and it got him into some hot water, and he was imprisoned in 1964. And he stayed in prison until like 1989. And
1990, yeah.
Yeah, and there were a couple times where he did get sick. He moved around for some prisons here to there. But I mean, I think he even had surgery at one time for an enlarged prostate when he was like 60 in prison. So I'm thinking somewhere around there is when people started thinking that he had passed. But I mean, for a lot of people to have like this physical memory, this visceral memory of him passing and seeing news reports, that's kind of wild. Because I mean, I remember it was a big deal, like Free Mandela. Became like this mantra in the 80s, free Nelson Mandela. And they had the tribute concert at Wembley Stadium. I mean, Tracy Chapman played there, and she just played the Grammys a couple days ago. She sounds exactly the same, by the way.
Yes, it's awesome. She is pretty cool.
But she played there. It was a big deal, this Nelson Mandela tribute concert. I mean, but if people remember him dying, do they also remember the tribute concert in 1988?
Yeah, but think about it. It's called a tribute concert. So for those people could remember that he had could have thought that he had passed.
That's a very good point. But then he goes on to become the very first black president of South Africa.
Not just the first black president, he was the first democratically elected president of South Africa ever. And it
Right.
was only 4 years after he was released. He was released in 1990 and he got elected in 1994. I mean, that's just wow.
And then he was president until 99,
Hmm.
and then had a whole nother career again as an activist until he died in 2013. I mean, it's barely 10 years. I think it was December of 2013 when he died.
Yeah. So I guess he wasn't the president anymore when I was there because I was there in 2009. So he must have stepped down from president, but he was still, a huge name.
He still had president status. Come on now. He was
Oh,
huge.
yeah.
So that was Nelson Mandela. And that is what this effect is. It's this collective false memory where people have this memory. Like, your memory is your own. It is real. Like, memories, you can touch them, you can smell them. And a lot of people remember him not making it out of prison, which is wild.
So I was thinking though, and I actually did look it up on the internet, like did the US have reports that he passed? Like when he went into the hospital for whatever reason, did they get bad news that he had passed? So they reported that he had passed and we're doing all this stuff about him. And then the next day or later on, they're like, oh, we misunderstood. He didn't pass. We thought he did. Like, did they make a correction the next day on the news and we just didn't realize it? You know what I mean? I was thinking maybe one of those kinds of things happened.
Absolutely possible, but I haven't seen it yet. So that's our introduction to the Mandela Effect. The next one is my introduction to the Mandela Effect. It was this random article, probably on BuzzFeed, because I can't remember where it came from. And it came across my feed somewhere like I can't remember how long ago. It was probably 2015, 16, somewhere around there. And it was this article about the Bearenstein Bears. And I was just like, what do you mean the Bearenstein Bears? It was saying that people remembered the Bearenstein Bears being spelled the Bearenstein Bears. And I'm like, well, this is weird. This is so weird because it is the Bearenstein Bears, the Bearenstein Bears, Stein, Steen. And the first part was spelled wrong. It should be bear, Bear. And I might be in the minority because the Mandela Effect with the Bearenstein Bears usually is just the Stein. But I guess in my mind, I remember having books where it was Bearenstein Bears. And I thought that was the charm of the Bearenstein Bears, was they were named the Bearenstein Bears. I don't know if I thought they were Jewish or what, but I don't know. And that kind of tore me apart and it changed me because I'm like, wait, it's never been Bearenstein Bears. It's Bearenstein. That doesn't even sound right, by the way. And then I went back and I was just like, wait a minute, this is a thing. They're calling it the Mandela Effect. And then I've never been the same since. That was my introduction to the Mandela Effect, was the Bearenstein Bears.
Yeah, the Bearenstein Bears. Definitely growing up, it was Bearenstein, Bear at the beginning. And that's what was so cute about the name, was that the author's name didn't have the Bear, but they put it in the title of the book. That was my recollection of this. And then Steen, it was always Steen, not Stain or Stein. It was Bearenstein Bears. I don't know. It just that was how it always rang for me. And yeah, I definitely believe they are Jewish. I think they even have a book with a menorah and all that kind of stuff. So
Like a Hanukkah
yeah,
book?
I think there is a Bearenstein Bear Hanukkah book for sure.
There's probably a Christmas one too, though.
I don't know.
So yeah, so that was my thing. And it's kind of a silly thing, but that's like my childhood there. You just ripped a piece of my childhood and said that didn't happen. And that hurts. But I mean, there's other things that people have, like the dime. Like, who's on the dime? Who's on the dime, June?
So it is actually FDR.
Correct.
And yes, and he got put on there in 1946 because I was very curious about this. And then I was like, who was on him there before him? So I did look it up, and it was the Winged Mercury. And then somebody was like, they call it the Mercury dime. And I remember my dad saying the Mercury dime's worth a lot of money, but I thought there was actually mercury in the dime because I'm an idiot.
Oh, no.
The Eisenhower is who in the Mandela Effect. And if you had asked me probably when I was in my old enough to know presidents and what they looked like, I probably would have said Eisenhower, but it might have been just the effect, just not knowing it well enough. Because how often do you really take a good long look at money to identify who's who, you know?
Right. I mean, I haven't really looked at a dime in forever, but this one's blurry for me because the thing is people remember, if not Eisenhower, they at least remember a balding man on the dime. And
right.
FDR is not bald.
Mm-hmm.
For them, even if it's not Eisenhower, well, who was it? Because it was bald. It wasn't FDR. There's something is wrong here. They remember a bald guy. And Eisenhower, when you look it up, he was on money. He was on the silver dollar in the 70s for a couple of years. It was a limited run, but he had the silver dollar.
But those are huge. Nobody's mistaken those for a dime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the dime is kind of blurry for me. If like when I first looked into this, I was just like, wait, do I remember a bald guy or don't I? But I actually have a few silver dollars from when I was a kid and I thought they were cool. And I know the difference. I knew that was Eisenhower. So this one probably doesn't get me.
Yeah.
Also, because I don't like to do research, FDR, he funded the Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, which was later renamed the March of
Dimes. Yep.
So it makes sense. You know, FDR's kind of always been on the dime, everybody. Sorry.
Since the 40s.
Another one. Now, this one does not affect me. And honestly, it doesn't affect me. It just annoys me because there is a big population. And at this point, I don't know how much of it's tongue in cheek versus how much of it is people actually have this false memory. Sinbad, the actor, the comedian. You're familiar with Sinbad?
Yes, for sure.
I absolutely love Sinbad. He's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. I
remember like in the mid 90s watching one of his comedy routines on Comedy Central when they only showed like comedy routines. And it was him at a university. I saw that and I cracked up. And then I had to show it to my dad and we were sitting on the couch crying. He's funny. He is a funny guy. But there is a large population of people that remember Sinbad starring in a movie as a genie named Shazam, which immediately when I heard that that's a thing that people remember, I'm like, wait a minute, no. This was Shaquille O'Neal and the movie was called Kazam. Like this is cut and dry for me. This is seriously just people being confused and downright almost mass hysteria because come on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was two really big stars at the time.
Yeah. I will say, though, in 1990, when the Zachary Levi movie Shazam came out, I did say, didn't they already make a movie show called Shazam? But that was just because Kazam and Shazam are such similar words, I think, that I was like, they already made a movie called Shazam. Why are they calling this movie Shazam? But it was, yeah. Now,
the thing is, when the Mandela Effect first started being a thing and people were cognizant of it and people were starting to say, well, Sinbad starred in a movie named Shazam. Sinbad himself actually went on record saying, no, I never did that. No, sorry guys, you're remembering wrong. He literally would set the record straight. But in 2017, and I didn't do research on this, I remember it because I thought it was hilarious at the time. Now it's just, okay, I'm tired of this. But there was a website at the time called collegehumor.com, which is no longer collegehumor.com. It's like dropout.com. Yeah, I did a little research just to get the actual date. But on April 1st, 2017, and you can still go on YouTube and find it's now under Dropout, not collegehumor.com. You can find the original video that they released on April Fool's Day, 2017, of a trailer for the long lost movie Shazam with Sinbad.
Oh my goodness. I did not know that.
It's actually done really well. It's the filmography is old and kind of like, 90s like. And there's two kids and they're dressed very early 90s. They're in an attic and they're talking about maybe how their mom had passed and their dad just has all their mom's stuff upstairs and they're rooting around through this attic. And meanwhile, while they're rooting around through the attic, there's a newspaper, an old newspaper with the headline that Nelson Mandela has died. There is a whole bunch of just Mandela Effect stuff in this attic. It's all little Easter eggs.
Oh, that's so cool. I gotta look this up now.
It's fantastic. And then they come across a lamp. And of course, Sinbad pops out. And it's hilarious. I mean, it's totally campy, like early 90s campy. But the thing is, when you look at it, if you're familiar with Sinbad, like I just said, I was a Sinbad fan. I am a Sinbad fan. you can tell the difference between early 90s Sinbad and mid to late, 2010s Sinbad. There's an age difference, and it's there in this video. Like, people are choosing to ignore it because now it's come to, like, people are still sharing this as if it's real.
Oh my goodness.
I can't tell if it's tongue in cheek. They're just trying to play the game, like, haha, or if they really do think they have found, this is proof that the Mandela effect is real. Like, I can't tell. And it really, it drives me nuts. And Sinbad himself, being the comedian he is actually now reversing. He's flipping his script and saying, yes, I've starred in this movie. It's a long lost movie. And he actually goes extra steps. It's on, I saw it on YouTube. He did an interview on New Jersey 101.5, which is a local radio station here in Jersey. And he is actually going so far as to say he is part of a government social experiment, a conspiracy theory, and they are erasing things, and Shazam is one of them. And they physically went to every place that they could find this VHS, and they removed it. And they've only been unable to find 3. And they're actively looking for these 3 to erase this.
Oh my gosh.
This is a wild story, and Sinbad is selling it.
There's 3 out there, though, that I love that he added that little, there are still 3 VHSs out there. You got to find them, people. Look for them.
Amazing. I mean, that part I do love, but everybody chooses to ignore this, that it's, come on now, guys. But there are still people that I really believe think that this is proof of the Mandela effect. And this movie was never made, everybody. Stop it. We do have to talk about the fact that there are people out there that think the Mandela effect is a conspiracy theory, that the government is conducting social experiments on us to see what they can get away with, see how much they can manipulate us, see how much they can alter our collective memories to gaslight us. For what purpose? I don't know. But it always seems, aside from Mandela, I don't see it's all silly stuff.
Yeah, honestly, to me, if they can do this, if they could pull this off, then they can balance the budget, right? Come on, people. I feel like if they really are going this far, then they could be doing so many other, our government isn't this well organized. Sorry.
Unless they are really good at it, and this is a distraction. Look over here at your Fruit Loops. It's never been FROOT. It's always been fruit the proper way. Meanwhile, we're over here doing nefarious stuff. I mean, I don't know. That's just silly. I tend to go a different way. There's another way you can go with the Mandela effect, other than just, mild mass hysteria and false collective memories. I like to prefer to pretend that there is an alternate timeline, a parallel universe, as it were. And every time something all of a sudden isn't the way we remember it, something changed in our timeline. Somebody changed something.
I am all about this alternate timeline theory. I love it. It's very Man in the High Castle, and it's great. And I love that stuff that Man in the High Castle, it kind of feeds over, right? You can kind of pass it from one to another. The idea that those videotapes or those films could get passed from one reality to another, and that Fruit Loops could get switched and things like that. That is actually pretty cool. Or that there is a time traveler who did, butterfly effect. They did one little thing and it changed. Maybe they went and saved Nelson Mandela's life, right? And then that changed the Fruit Loops and the dime and all the things after it.
Right. So I love the parallel time. It's my favorite thing to play with as far as thinking about, because it's not real stuff. It's silly stuff. So before I move on, do you remember, you are also a big fan of the X-Files?
Yes, I am. I love the X-Files. I loved when they did the reboot. It was so cool.
Yes, the reboot. Do you remember the episode where they actually did address, not in so many words, the Mandela effect?
Yes, you literally did everything except for say the word Mandela. I mean, it was pretty cool. It was very cool. And they had all those little Easter eggs too. It was really cool.
They did. And they even had subliminal stuff that they were trying to if you weren't paying attention, they were putting it in there. That was a really cool season, that last season of the X-Files. It did not disappoint.
Yeah, I'm glad they did it.
So anyway, moving on. So let me give you a little quiz. Just a few things. Forrest Gump. There's that famous line, the chocolates line. What is that line?
Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Wrong. That's the Mandela effect right there. Life was like a box of chocolates. Mama said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Ah. Oh, yeah, but I could see that. Yeah.
Yep, the quote, at life's like a box of chocolate. Nope, life was. Moving on. Star Wars. Luke, how he finds out who his father is. What's the line?
I just know that it's not what everybody thinks it is, but I don't know the exact line.
It's so famous that it is quoted in other movies wrong.
And it is quoted wrong all the time. And I do know that. I think it's just, I am your father. I don't even think he says his name. I don't think he says the name Luke.
Right. I mean, my favorite one that's quoted wrong is in Tommy Boy, when you've got Chris Farley in the fan, and it's, Luke, I am your father. But it's wrong. It's, no, I am your father.
Okay. Yeah.
Sticking with Star Wars, C-3PO, what color is he?
He's gold.
Is he, though?
Yeah.
100%?
No. I mean, obviously his eyes are not gold, and I don't know. I think he has maybe fingertips and I don't know, knees maybe. I don't know.
He is all gold except for one of his legs.
Really? Interesting.
From the knee down, one of his legs is silver.
Oh, that's probably just me not paying close enough attention.
That's a lot of everybody not paying attention, because we're all like, wait a minute, what? He's always been gold. Where'd the silver leg come from? What changed in the universe?
Crazy. Something silly too, because it's so funny, like something so small that, yeah.
Okay, so here's my last one, because I could just go on with this quiz. Fruit of the Loom.
See, this Fruit of the Loom one, I am going to say there is a cornucopia involved.
Yes, there's a cornucopia. It's always been a cornucopia. Where's the cornucopia, and why isn't it there?
I really do believe there was a cornucopia involved. I mean, because even when they had those really bad commercials where the full-grown adults were dressed up like the fruits, I always thought, like, are they going to climb into a cornucopia?
I had, undershirts and, and undergarments that had, they were Fruit of a Loom, and it always had the cornucopia. Where did it go? And the story is that there's a woman out there who this is driving her crazy, and she's even in therapy about it. And her therapist has told her, you got to let this go. And she's like, no. And she goes to the patent office, and she finds the patent for this cornucopia, and she asks Fruit of a Loom, and they're like, no, there's never been a cornucopia. Never. And but the problem is, she swears she's got this proof, but I don't even know that this person exists. Is this whole thing fabricated? Is this whole story fabricated? I don't know, because I've never seen somebody saying, oh, I found this old undershirt that I had, or my dad's old undershirt, and here's the cornucopia.
Right. Yeah.
There's no proof.
It should be pretty simple. It is a pretty simple thing.
I said, all right. So I said last one, but then I'm going to cut it short, because, man, we could just go forever on this. Monopoly.
Yeah. Top hat guy.
Yeah. Does Mr. Monopoly? Mr.
Monopoly.
Does he wear anything on his face other than his mustache?
No, I don't think so.
No monocle?
I don't think so. No.
Right.
My family is very big Monopoly people. So we played a lot. So I may have taken a little more notice of Monopoly than other people.
Yeah, I know you're from pretty much where Monopoly comes from.
Yeah, I'm not joking that my dad worked on Boardwalk and Park Place.
That's amazing. So no, I remember there being a monocle on Mr. Monopoly. However, I hate the game Monopoly, so I'm not a good person to ask for that. But there's a lot of people that remember a monocle, and I even saw somebody out there with Monopoly money, a $2 bill of Monopoly money, that had a monocle in the middle of that $2 bill.
Misprint, or they made it,
or they fabricated it. Yeah.
Yeah. They might be getting Mr. Peanut and him mixed up.
It may be. Anyway, Junior, thank you so much. This has been a ball. This has been fun, talking about our memories that are quickly going extinct, apparently. So thank you very much for joining me. Yeah, we should do this again. We'll probably have to do since I'm such a dude, we'll have to get you on for like girl stuff. Like
the girl toys of the 90s and 80s. Yes, that would be fun.
We shall do that then. Junior, thanks again for joining me, and I'm sure we'll have you back on very soon.
All right, great. Thanks for having me. Have a great night.
You too. Bye. Once again, I just want to say thanks for listening. And as always, you can listen to The Busy Signal everywhere quality podcasts are streamed. Hit the subscribe button to have a new episode delivered directly to your favorite device every other Friday. And if you really enjoy the show, leave a positive review. I don't know what that does, but would this be a real podcast if I didn't ask for that? You can also head over to Instagram and follow the show at Busy Signal Cast for even more retrostalgic content. I share a good amount of stuff that isn't mentioned on the episodes. And while you're there, say hi in the comments. And until next time, remember, reach out and touch the past.